Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with NASSCOM Insights. I'm Prerna Buckshee, Senior Analyst GCC at NASSCOM Insights, and I'll be your host for the day. In today's episode, we will be discussing the GCC landscape in India and taking a closer look at the evolution and transformation journey of GCCs. And to join us in this discussion are our two esteemed panelists. We have with us Mr. Mordhwaj, who leads the finance, supply chain and operations and business transformation teams at EY GDS Consulting. Mr. Pal is a versatile business and technology leader with 16 years of rich experience in driving accounts and sector focus, and excels in shaping and developing teams to help them realize their financial, technical and leadership potential. We also have with us Mr. Ravi, who is heading the GCC in India for version 1 and has a rich experience of 19 plus years in the IT industry with 10 plus years of client and delivery management experience in UK. In fact, Mr. Maney works very closely with global leaders to build and expand GCC capabilities and is managing the entire India team of 240 plus resources across various technologies. For many years now, India has been a near synonym for GCCs, and we've only seen that trend accelerating. To measure, track, and assess the growth and evolvement of GCCs on a regular basis, NASSCOM, in collaboration with Zinnov, formulated a flagship GCC Intensity Index, which is a multivariate assessment model intending to track and measure the performance of new GCCs, as well as the expansion of existing GCCs, setting up a base in India. The index, which reflected a reading of very high for the Jan to March quarter of 2022, encompasses various parameters such as GCC establishment and expansion, industry verticals, functions, tiers, headquarter locations, India presence in terms of number of locations, envision work profile, etc., and attempts to establish a yardstick to calibrate progress and potential of GCCs in India on a quarterly basis. Further, this index is an essential component of our inaugural edition of India GCC Trends Quarterly Analysis Q1 CY22, which was published in May 22 and is freely downloadable at the NASSCOM and NASSCOM community websites. The report encapsulates compelling insights and key trends shaping the GCC landscape in India for the Jan to March quarter of 2022, while providing an overview of the GCC India ecosystem, underscoring new GCCs in the ecosystem, which were 20 in number for the Jan to March quarter, with granular insights on their key focus areas, core verticals they are operating in, headcount, headquarters, as well as a deep dive into industry verticals, namely retail and industrial for Q1 CY22. Corroborated by detail. This is corroborated by detailed case studies highlighting some of the best-in-class industry practices undertaken by the GCC India centers of leading organizations. So without further ado, I would now like to jump straight into the questions. My first question is to you, Ravi. So Ravi, since quite some time now, the lens with which we are looking at GCCs has transformed from being the traditional cost centers lending support to their present organizations to becoming talent and innovation hubs. Generating large-scale employment, inventing products and innovatory solutions for the parent enterprise. So it would be wonderful to understand your thoughts on the same, and what essentially do you think are the key drivers that have contributed to this transition?
Thanks, Prerna. So with GCCs, what we initially started as a cost arbitrage to provide resources for just the development related activities. But in the last few years, we have seen a huge shift in that, especially because of the talent pool that is available, especially around India. And the second thing is with remote working becoming a norm now, and digitization is no more, it is not anymore a very niche thing. It has now become a norm and people are up for it and everybody is going for it. It has opened up a lot of opportunities for us to go ahead and do value added propositions rather than just looking at cost. And innovation specifically has changed a lot with all the design and architecture aspects, and also coming up with products and other things has been really high in India, and that is what we have done also. So where we started on the innovation journey, we were mainly providing resources to a team which is working out of the parent company and just doing the delivery. Now we have the end-to-end capability, not only just on design aspects, but also coming up with proof of values for a customer and looking at that value-added propositions for a customer. And that has helped us to grow a lot in these streams. Especially the digital maturity in India is really good, and the changes in technology and the availability of talent pool has further improved our capabilities in India, and that has enhanced a lot of opportunities when it comes to innovation and R&D in India.
Right. Great. Those are some very interesting insights. So, so moving on to my next question, and this time I would like to start with you, Mordhwaj. We have witnessed, especially in the wake of the pandemic, this undying spirit of resilience and anti-fragility amidst the GCC ecosystem, wherein, they're not only surviving, but they're also able to come up with opportunities in the face of adversity to thrive in the new normal. So in the tech sector, for instance, particularly in the Indian context, we have seen tremendous growth in the number of tech COEs and R&D centers that have been set up in the last 1.5 years. So what, in your opinion, are the key factors that have contributed towards this resilience and anti-fragility exhibited by GCCs? And it would be great if you could elucidate with a few examples of GCCs, including yours, that have in practice redefined, realigned, and reimagined not just themselves, but their global organizations as well.
Sure. Thanks, Prerna. Very nice question. So, see, in my view, and if we see the evolution of GCCs in India, even outside India markets, right? Southeast Asia, they have a lot of GCC centers as well. The platform, or I would say, the GCCs work under a trinity, which is, and definitely it has evolved further, but those are, resilience, continuity, and efficiency. And as soon as we see that any of these, at least two of them, if we see that as a triangle, at least two of them are getting impacted positively, that is what becomes a trend. And that has a lot of upside in the GCC arena. And if you see after the pandemic, and I think that we also touched upon it, from the digital technology perspective, technology is one of that area which was also impacting all the three contours very positively, right? And that's why it's a given that anything which makes a positive impact on all three, which is not generally the case all the times, will definitely be accepted hands down. And that is what happened as soon as the leaders or GCC leaders started realizing that how an automation or a digitalization, AI or whatnot, any form of technology is actually making them resilient, giving them the efficiency, and definitely provided continuity, even during the pandemic, has that cause which basically made this change happen. And I would say certain times, industry takes its own pace to make that change, but this need and the positive upside had made it a lot faster. And that is what happened not only to us, but a lot of others, GCCs in India, especially.
Right. No, very interesting insights there. And I would request, Ravi, any inputs from you on that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think after the pandemic, what has happened is the customers have become a bit more open towards the culture of digitization, as well as remote working, and being a bit more accommodative. With that, it has opened up a lot of options to go ahead and look at what improvements we can build. Like Mordhwaj was talking about, especially AI and automation and other things have kickstarted. And
Right.
what tedious really difficult ways of testing or going live and all had to be fast because they all had to get things done really quickly. So that has helped us a lot to show that improvement, and the resilience was always there. The resilience, I think, uh, uh, the pandemic itself showed how human race came together and became a really a strong force, and that has shown throughout. People have helped each other out and been very close, worked closely with each other and supported each other to grow, and that has been the trend for at least for the last 2 years, and it is going to stay.
Right, right. No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think GCCs are leading the way in resilience in more than one way. So really interesting thoughts. Moving on to my next question. We've all seen, that the pandemic has well and truly made us all realize that digital transformation is no longer an option, but a necessity. And in fact, my next question is around that only, that, how do you think GCCs are actually spearheading the digitalization charter for the headquarters? What are your thoughts, and what are the key tenets that can help GCCs align themselves to the broader existing digitalization goals of the enterprise, and not just support their parent enterprises effectively and efficiently in this journey, but in a way also lead it? So, Mordhwaj, I would like to address this question to you, please.
Sure. Pretty linked. I think we all laid it out to this question. So it's easy for me to explain. Like I said, anything which is positively impacting all three contours will definitely be something where all GCCs will focus. And when we talk about GCCs, they are not siloed entities. Because they are the ones who's actually adding a lot of value to the headquarters, or I would say the main market entities. And the higher the value chain they go, the more the value they can add to those headquarters. And basically that paves the way out that if these entities, which we call GCCs, have lesser dependencies on maybe certain human elements, and bring in efficiency through that, it will always work positively on the part where certainly they're not just supporting or playing a secondary role, but they're actually leading the way, which is very natural to the GCCs because the volume is actually at the GCCs from the business activity perspective. And that's where, when we say the volume, it comes with two things. Definitely, it has a lot of opportunities, and it will have a lot of challenges as well. And if we actually solve it in the right manner, it will have the right value for the whole firm, not only to the GCCs. And that has played really well in the pandemic or during the pandemic, because it has been proved that proximity may be a dimension, but it can't be a dependency for something to be done more efficiently.
Yes, yes, very, very interesting point. So proximity can't be the sole dependent factor determining efficiency, and GCCs are a case in point for that. Absolutely. Great, great. So, and in continuation to my previous question, Mordhwaj, I would also like to know, while mainstream foundational technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning and cybersecurity and cloud edge computing, all these technologies are now largely and effectively being deployed by GCCs in a big way. And what I would like to know from you is, which are the other technologies that you believe are capable of disrupting the GCC space, especially emerging technologies like Web 3.0 and quantum and metaverse.
Yeah.
So would love to know your thoughts on that.
Probably. So I would say, see, unless, a technology finds its use, it's a buzzword. And I think, since last at least 7 to 8 years, we are seeing that Even something appears on the Gartner's quadrant, we don't know how it will be replaced in next 3 months. And that is because if we couldn't find the right use of that technology, and I would say in GCC's world, if we see, traditional GCCs, a lot of back office, a lot of operations, and that has a specific use of technology, which has been, I would say, still in making, but a lot of it has been already adapted. If we talk about the more new ones, if we say metaverse or quantum, I would say they're still evolving. There are more prominent usage of non-traditional, GCCs. If we talk about, let's say, a business which is into, designing, a business which, let's say, outsource its wall decors. There are larger players across the world who actually do carve out as business units only for wall decors. I can name few, and it is very important for them to actually realize a technology, something is metaverse, not only from the customer perspective, but while a product is in the making, because they can make sure that it is being done right as it is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. No, good point. Good point. So technology has to find its use for being adopted, whether it's mainstream or it's emerging. Great point. Great point. Okay. So my last and final question, and I'd like to start with you, Ravi, this time. There's a lot of buzz around the hybrid work models nowadays, and I think we can safely say that it's something that's here to stay now. And that's the next normal. That's the new buzzword I think we're hearing in the market. So, what do you think? What do you think? How is this? How feasible is this for GCCs? I mean, in fact, when our first edition of the GCC quarterly, we actually found out that 85% of the technology roles were offered permanent work from home. So, what is the viability you see for the work from home, work from anywhere model, and in specifically for the GCC space? And it would be great if you can explain with some innovative policies or initiatives that your organization might have adopted to support that model. And in continuation to that, I have an additional question. What sort of broad percentages is your organization looking at in terms of remote working model, and how do you think that is that corresponding number is expected to change in the next 12 to 24 months?
Sure, Prerna. I think the last 2 years have proved a lot about remote working. So it is tried and tested. It has shown its resilience. As you said, it is going to stay. With regards to this hybrid model, we in version 1 have taken a slightly different stance than most of the other organizations. We have always been digitally enabled to work from anywhere because many of our consultants before used to work from client locations and not from version 1 offices. And when the pandemic hit, we were able to transition into a remote working very quickly. I will be lying if I say I was not worried about it, because we are used to being around with people and sitting across a table and having conversations. So it was challenging in the start, but one of the major things what we did as an organization was focusing on the engagement part. So we were worried for our employees. We made sure they are safe at their hometowns and taking care of their families during the tough periods, and made sure there were enough engagement. I'm not talking about activities and other things, but mainly creating groups and hubs of people across cities so that they can meet up if required and bringing them together. Thanks to that, we have been rated the best #1 rank in India for the great places to work in mid-sized companies, right? So it shows how we work closely with each other, and thanks to that, the need for being in office all the time has gone away. So what we have done as an initiative is, instead of making it mandatory few days in a month or a week, we have said we'll make it activity based meetups. So if there is certain specific things we want to do, like a design workshop or bringing people together for a training activity or something like that, so that there is value out for them to come together and there is a need for them to come together. Other than that, they all work very closely as a team. They know each other well. We have frequent conversations, not just about work, but everything else that is happening in life. So they know, even though the physical element is missing, they know each other really well as a team. So they work well. And that has helped a lot. So when they come together, there is an active agenda for it. They see there is a need to be in office or be in a place, and it doesn't have to be office. To give you an example, we got people to meet together in Pune in a restaurant so that they can just come in and have dinner and discuss one of uh, the UAT phases just before going live. What are the things to look at, right? So those are the things we want to take it forward. And the next 12 to 24 months will be interesting. Obviously, it also depends on what happens globally. Many of our clients and companies in the West or in Europe, especially where we operate, are not in offices. There's no point us going to office if the clients themselves are not coming in. So it depends on that. And also we need to be aware that a lot of these things are driven by commute and the time spent and everything else. So we have focused more on the engagement part, on collaboration, whether it is remotely or in offices. Saying that, there is one aspect we definitely are looking at to see how it could be a bit more office driven, and that is for graduates and graduate programs. One of the biggest things that the graduates are missing out right now is that handholding or that mentorship, which is much more easier in your office rather than doing it remotely. I know there are few companies who have done it really well remotely.
No, great point. Great point.
Yeah, so that is where I think that is one aspect we will look at to bring that office culture and learn from each other and do it a bit more from the office than a hybrid or a remote model. But once they settle in, once they get into the delivery mode, I think it will get slightly better. But the initial phases definitely need some kind of physical presence there.
No, absolutely. Great point. Great point. And I think also, like you rightly said, for freshers to imbibe the values and culture that the organization has, it's very important for them to, get to know people in office, face to face, in person. Virtually, it's a little difficult to imbibe culture like that, I guess. So great point, Ravi. I'd like to come to you now, sir. So Mordhwaj, what are your thoughts on this?
So absolutely, I think difficult to answer. Ravi has covered a lot already, but rightly so. And I still feel that this will evolve, and it has changed a lot because of two things. A lot of employer experience that has changed. And additionally, a lot of employee experience that also impacted this. And a lot of it also comes with what age group we are dealing with. And if we talk about, since we mentioned, a lot of freshers and, interns, they have a different mindset. And if I think if somebody says that we figured it out, I think we are still far, and it will evolve. I won't say that if we are saying hybrid, we are saying that it'll be 50-50, because that's not the definition of hybrid. That definition of hybrid may evolve, and it'll not even, will remain as a term, because that is the new normal. So we won't be saying hybrid in the new world, because that is how it works. So that's what I can add.
Yeah, one thing I would just like to add, Prerna, here is till we get to a stage, we probably have to look at our delivery models and align it properly, right? We cannot just keep looking at, oh, this is how it used to be before, so let's continue. So we'll have to, to be honest, most of the organizations have already done in the last 2 years, and it will it will evolve, but we need to work with it and make sure we are aligned with our delivery models and make sure the delivery is not impacted.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think great points. I think that's what it is. It is to each his own, as in, it has to be customizable. There are no blanket rules, I think, in terms of hybrid models that we can apply across industries or across sectors. And it's like you rightly said, Ravi and Mordhwaj, that it has to evolve with time, depending on a lot of macro factors, a lot of enterprise driven factors, a lot of ecosystem factors. So I think all of that is important. So so great. I think this has been really, really helpful, and it has been wonderful to gather such intriguing thoughts from both of you. With this, we come to an end of today's session. Thank you, Mordhwaj. Thank you, Ravi, for joining us. That is it from this edition of Tech Talks. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions happening in the Indian tech industry with NASSCOM Insights YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Till then, it's goodbye from everyone here at NASSCOM Insights. Thank you.